This town needs an enema.
And welcome. Fish people, captured sailors, mad scientists, and survivors of a 10,000-year-old underwater civil war. What the shit? This is episode 322 of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 18th of September, 2019, and featuring the Underwater Menace. Written by Jeffrey Ohm, and starring Patrick Troughton as the Doctor, Anarchy Wills as Polly, Michael Craze as Ben, and Fraser Hines as Jamie. I'm your host for this season, Randy Ronson McCulloch, and with me on the panel tonight is our technical director, Mad Matt Winchell.
Nothing says 3 a.m. like pumpkin spice latte.
Ugh. Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
My ability to talk with fish is of no help, Wonder Woman.
And showing up once for this week only to man up and actually do a telesnap is our Australian panelist, Thomas Firehart.
The void spat me back out, so.
And
the void
just
is
when
always
we had
watching.
a chance to get the entire group back together, Bill
has to
Sylvia,
pull
the
out.
Man in Black, flakes out again because apparently he's behind on everything. And you know what? This is my show now.
Yes. It's a
You're
coup,
all
a coup
fired.
d'etat.
As I've learned this week from my physical therapist, if you call in absent enough times, eventually they take you off the schedule. And how has everybody's week been?
Not too bad.
I wish-
Keeping busy.
I wish I could say that.
I have
So-
been overly busy.
Thomas, you won't remember, but you all remember last week how I was talking about how I had this foot problem they originally thought was a bone break.
Oh yeah, it's gout.
Oh yeah, I finally put a wrap on it Friday night, and it turned into the worst gout outbreak I have ever had. And I've had gout for like 10, 15 years. If you don't know how gout feels, let me describe it. Imagine you're John Hurt from Alien, and the xenomorph baby, instead of trying to break out of your stomach, is trying to break out of the base of your big toe while it's dipped in lava. And just for fun, let's make that entire foot swell up to about the size of a regulation American football. We're talking size and shape.
Oof.
That was my weekend. Unfortunately, wonderful timing had it the same weekend that Aaron was working both days, working overtime. And whereas previous times I could find a place on my foot I could walk with only minor pain, not this time. Every part of my foot was in pain. I basically lied in bed all Saturday until Aaron got home at 10:30 at night, when I asked her to quickly run down to the car and get my cane so I could go to the bathroom for the first time in, 10 hours. I did not eat Saturday. I did not eat Sunday. I did not eat Monday until 2:30 in the morning because I had messaged Erin and begged her to bring home some Taco Bell because I was that hungry. Tuesday, I finally managed to get out of bed long enough to hobble more than 10 feet to the bathroom to get to the kitchen. And I can tell you, I kind of frenzied. I opened the fridge door, and the Japanese-style curry that Aaron gets from a coworker looked up at me and went, "Gojira? Gojira!" Ah!
But I couldn't run.
I opened the freezer door. The microwave burritos went, Dios mío, no! It's El Chupacabra! Go! Run! Andale! Yeah.
Once again, frozen item, not much underlay in that one.
Oh, yeah, I basically, eventually, about an hour later, hobbled back to bed. After basically eating, I don't know how much. Found out and then today I'm actually slightly more mobile, so I was able to actually, separate meals out. The thing I have about microwave burritos is recently, and I know Matt's going to think I'm insane for this, is I've recently fallen in love with Taco Bell's fire sauce.
I'm not against that. The Diablo one is the stupid one. I don't care for.
Oh, you don't care for Diablo? I thought you would be there because the last I knew, you were the cult of hot.
Yeah, I don't mind the hot, but it's tasteless.
That's exactly my issue.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Matt. I like the fire sauce because it has a nice tang to it.
It still has a nice tang to it. Yeah, it still has some flavor to it. It's
And
Diablo is just plain simple hot with no flavor to it. I'm like,
and it's thick. It sits there on what you're eating instead of just going all over the place like runny water.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep a bottle of that stuff, and I actually have a few packets of it in my car in case the pendejo in the drive-thru doesn't remember my packets.
Right. That's why we don't go to the Hartford one anymore. We go to West Bend when we get our Taco Bell.
My one problem is I have a bottle of it in the fridge, and I went to put it on the microwave burritos, and I just wanted a little line of it, right?
Also a big glob of it.
Yeah. So I was drinking that one with a glass of milk.
Spread it out a little bit, it'll burn less.
But yeah, that was mostly my week. Fortunately, I, managed to get some stuff done. My computer was there, so I was able to do some stuff. Do some reading, played a little Fallout 76. For no other reason than I wanted to see if they fixed most of the bugs. They have.
They've been trying to, and they've had regressions back and forth.
They've added some. They're going to be adding NPCs in November.
Mm-hmm.
Because people bitched long enough, they wanted it.
Also, they added more stuff to the paid shop now.
I noticed. Don't really care. At least with the paid shop, you can actually earn the atoms you use to buy stuff in game by doing like daily and weekly events.
True.
So
that makes it only slightly better than most paid shops.
So occasionally, if there's something cool in there and I've got the atoms for it, I'll buy it. But
yeah, I don't know if they released it yet or not, but essentially they're adding a robot that'll automatically grab scrap for you, and a refrigerator which will have the time of decay of your food.
Those will be cool. I didn't see those. I might actually pay money for those.
Yeah, they're apparently not cheap. And matter of fact, also the robot was apparently in early trailer footage and has not been released until now. It's only going to the shop right away.
But I did some of that. I've been playing Civ 4 a lot because that's something I can play while Aaron's streaming.
Doesn't take up much resources.
Exactly, and it doesn't take up internet when I'm just playing by myself.
Mm-hmm, that as well.
Had a good round of that, and then had a slightly lesser round that I'm dealing with now, but not playing at the moment, but was playing earlier today because Aaron was doing her Wednesday morning stream, Wednesday noon stream.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
As for me, I had an uncle visit this week for a little bit. He's my father's twin. So they were having a little bit of a birthday thing. They ate out on Monday night. Sat around Monday night evening afterwards and watched movies until they went to bed. Then grilled out Tuesday for lunch, which is why I had to dodge out because they made fresh burgers for me.
I remember going back to the quick subject of Taco Bell. Used to be fond of their volcano menu.
Yeah, a lot of their volcano stuff was pretty good. That's when I first really got into Taco Bell again.
Yeah, they had lava sauce with that, if I recall.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've read they don't have any plans on doing that again. games. It's available in some international markets, but not here in America. Sorry, Matt.
I wonder what the reason is. Oh well.
I don't know.
For gaming stuff, I revisited Wolfenstein Spirit Destiny on an easier mode and finally finished it. So yeah, for whatever reason, they don't have like an actual like middle of the road normal mode. There's only like slightly easy or slightly hard, and the slightly hard is maybe a little bit too difficult for most people because of that one particular level. But I got to that level again on the slightly easier, and it's like, oh, okay, I cakewalked it now. All right, moving on, and finished the game. I'm almost done with Quake. I finished the.
Was there a story to Quake? I thought it was mostly just made for PvP.
No, I think you're thinking of Unreal.
No, I was thinking of Quake because the only thing we ever really did might have been Quake Arena.
Quake Arena, that would probably make sense. No, the original Quake was definitely this medieval. Actually, not medieval. Like, well, it's a sci-fi gothic story, and the basic premise, very very basic premise that was that essentially a demon from another dimension or a wizard of that effect had essentially opened up portals into the Earth realm, and you're a survivor from Earth who has gone through the portals to collect the 4 runes of power and going to slay the asshole who opened the portals.
So it was kind of like Ultima Underworld 2, only with a more interactive, a more real-time first-person.
Yeah, it's like if Ultima, the plot of Ultima 2 had a Doom equivalent.
Yep.
And from what I've seen of the Quake sequels, they got more and more sci-fi and less gothic, sadly.
Yeah,
Which saddens me because some of the gothic guys in the original one are actually kind of cool. There's like this Leatherface type of guy who shoots grenades. There's 2 different variants of like medieval knights that'll rush you.
Well,
There's this really grotesque like homunculus kind of a thing that hops around and tries to claw at you.
Well, all I remember about Quake is, occasionally, like I have said before, when I worked at the help desk, we would pass around games. Our favorite was Action Half-Life, which was a mod for Half-Life to do. But we knew Half-Life had a story, but every now and then a guy'd go, hey, let's play Quake. And he'd just say Quake. But now that I'm thinking about it, the disc said Quake Arena, so...
Yeah,
and
so that was probably
no
just a
story mode.
multiplayer sequel or add-on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's like 4 or 5 of the Quakes now, and yeah, they have a story.
Okay. I just knew they were engines. I didn't really know if they had storylines. Well, now I do.
Yeah,
Anyway.
They were made by id, too, just like Doom, so...
Anyway, on tonight's show, we have news. You will note I do not say birthdays. Got Geek Talk. There's no review of shame. I don't really have a rant of the week other than ouch, gout hurts. But I've said that already, so I'm not going further with that. We don't have Bill here to cover his massive backlog of episodes he's missed.
He keeps adding every time he misses.
So no review. I think he has. I think he's well into the 2 digits now.
Yeah.
And
I'm pretty sure he's somewhere
course,
between 15 and 20 episodes of missing stuff now.
Yep. And then, of course, our episode summary, our review, our final thoughts, and our ratings. So let's get to the news. Our first category would be birthdays, except I couldn't find a single decent birthday this week.
No one was born.
Oh, there were people born. There were people born that were actors in 1 episode of Doctor Who. But I don't put those in because if I did, we'd be doing birthdays for 2 hours. Nobody died this week that I'm aware of that was related to Doctor Who production. At least if they did, they haven't told the public about it.
Happens.
So let's go to episode news, and we do have a little bit of casting news from Series 12.
Yes. Once again, the CV Hunters have been looking and found more cast information for the upcoming Series 12 this time for episode 1. The first actually came from IMDb and was confirmed via her CV. Actress Dominique Maher will play Agent Browning. Episode 1 is supposed to be a spy drama of some sort, so the name makes sense. Actor Darren Meyer will be playing a character called Cisse, and Ronan Summers is listed as Rendition Man, probably a reference to someone who kidnaps people for interrogation. Finally, the big news is that well-known actor Stephen Fry will be in episode 1. He was caught in the August 19th filming at Swansea Guildhall. IMDb lists Adam Basil as his stunt double. Alright, now I'm excited for this.
Double.
Well, yeah, I mean, you think about Stephen Fry. He's what, in his 40s, 50s, somewhere in there? He's
At least his 50s for sure.
Yeah, he's at the point where he doesn't want to be doing his own stunts.
Well, the fact that he's going to be doing stunts is
It might just be for one scene.
Still,
Yeah.
the fact that they have to have a stunt double for him is kind of eyebrow raising. I wonder what they're up to.
Well, I'm kind of wondering if he's playing a variation on his character from, was that the Robert Downey version of Sherlock Holmes?
Mycroft?
Yeah, where he wound up being Mycroft. I'm wondering if he's in kind of a Mycrofty role and gets involved in the action. I mean, I think it's more of a spy kind of James Bondy thing, but I can't tell you for certain. It's either James Bond or Bourne or something. I can't tell what.
The only thing that would make this even cooler would be if they got Hugh Laurie too.
Oh, there's no news on that. All right, so from there we move on to cast and crew news, and we have one major piece of alumni cast and crew news.
Christopher Eccleston has been vocal recently due to his upcoming autobiography, I Love the Bones of You. In it, and in interviews recently, he's been talking about his lifelong battle with anorexia and depression. Many times I've wanted to reveal that I'm a lifetime anorexic and dysmorphic, he said. I never have. I always thought of it as a filthy secret because I'm northern, because I'm male, and because I'm working class. The illness is still there, raging within me. As the doctor, people love the way I look in that series, but I was very ill. When his marriage ended in 2015, he was on the verge of suicide. Fortunately, instead he checked into a psychiatric hospital where they found he had a severe clinical depression. I'm on antidepressants to this day. I could be on them for the rest of my days. I do have an issue with that. I would like to attempt slowly to reduce the dose to experience reality again to see how I do. And yet, interestingly, I have received some of the best reviews of my life since I started taking them. I Love the Bones of You will be published by Simon & Schuster UK tomorrow. 2015 was around the same time that Eccleston started taking an interest in Doctor Who fandom again, going to conventions instead of trying to pretend the whole thing never happened. Coincidence? We think not.
Yeah. That leaves a lot of questions right there.
I mean, I kind of know where he's going from. I had pretty severe clinical depression. I hit rock bottom around 2012, 2013 when I was losing my apartment, and I really considered the best choice in my life at that point was to go and play on the Beltline during rush hour.
Oh, my 2009, yeah.
I never did, of course, but that was kind of the point. That was kind of the low point in my life. And I've had depression for, years. It's horrible. You go down to light asleep and you basically have a little voice in your head showing you everything you've ever done wrong in your life and blaming you for it. I don't have that voice in my head anymore. I have a whole bunch of other ones, but not that one. I think the other ones ganged up, tied him up, and gagged him and shoved him in a closet, honestly.
Yeah, When I had moved home in 2009, there was that little voice in me too going, it'd be just better if you just jump out the window. I lived on the 8th floor, by the way, of an apartment building, overlooking nothing but pavement.
Yeah, I always thought the view from the Regent didn't look that appealing.
Actually, it wasn't that bad. You got to see the stadium really nice. There's a park over to one side. But yeah, if you look straight down, parking lot. And maybe occasionally they might put a dumpster underneath your window too.
But,
Depending on where they moved it that week. But yeah, not the happiest of times. And I very rarely, as a matter of fact, I think it just happened recently again, I very rarely have nightmares about that too.
I don't. I've kind of landed sort of, well, I wouldn't say on my feet, but close enough that I'm able to hobble at least.
It's like maybe once every couple of years, all of a sudden I have a nightmare where I'm on that ledge and about to fall backwards, and that's why I jump out of bed.
No, don't have the issue. Mine was more of an urge, never an actual attempt.
I didn't attempt it either, but I had been on that ledge before because my room had been locked by accident.
Never did that.
Yeah, we found out, I think my second or third year there, that you could sneak along the edge outside the windows and get into your room.
The only reason I'd ever be on a wet ledge is if I suddenly developed a fear of wits.
Anyway, depression aside, nice to hear that Chris is coming along.
Yeah. All right. So, attendees to this year's New York City Comic Con will have the opportunity to get 2 new figurines of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. These figures from Titan are supposedly representative of Jodie's look from Rosa and Kerblam. Do we have pictures of those up?
I do have the article up, yes.
So you can see them. They kind of look like the pop figurines, but they're not.
Yeah, they're like different variations of them.
To be honest, I like the right one better than the left one because the left one, I don't know.
Looks like a creepy caricature, whereas the right one looks a little bit more like a Lego.
Yeah, it looks more like an anime version, whereas the right one is just kind of creepy.
Yeah,
it's exceedingly creepy. I don't know.
Talk about nightmare fuel. Hello, left one.
I don't think they got the cheekbones right, and definitely the face is way too long.
I said caricature.
I mean, you compare it to like the picture of Jodie on like the right, and
the cheekbones in particular are definitely not correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes her actually look a bit masculine. I'm not kidding. It does.
It's one of those things where it's like as soulless as an actual pop vinyl looks. A pop vinyl looks better than that. It's got less features to it.
Yeah, the one on the right has totally less features. Doesn't even have a nose. But I can see it. I think it looks more like Jodie than the one on the left.
Yeah, like it's with that kind of a thing. It just seems like you're better off going stylized than trying to be accurate.
Yeah, you are better off stylized than accurate for especially for stuff that small.
I love the fact that they call that version the kawaii version.
I get the feeling that this might have been made for the Japanese market and might actually sell.
Well, I think it was made for Doctor Who fans who also happen to be otaku fanboys.
That's a possibility. In other words, too.
They know I exist.
they know this panel exists. Oh wait.
Oh, wonder actually how much crossover there actually is there. Because if I think about it, I mean, we
questionable but probable quite a bit.
I mean, well, we worked for GeekCon. I can't remember how many people we had there that were simultaneously Doctor Who and anime. Because remember, that was spawned from the Anime Club.
Technically, yeah. Well, actually, technically that was spawned from the anime and the Sci-Fi Club.
Yes, I know, but the people I knew were the ones from Anime Club.
Well, the
And
both clubs shared quite a bit, except for
I
some
do
people.
remember coming in to the break room one time, sitting down at con and looking at the TV in the break room and going, "Oh my God, you're showing Doctor Who. Oh my God, you're watching Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. Why?" Oh,
And Randy immediately wants to stab out his own eyes.
I was too tired too. I tried to ignore it. Anyway, the limited edition items will be available from Titan booth number 2142. So go there, get your figs.
Get them while
I'll
they
do that.
last.
Get the one on the right. Get the one on the right.
You know you want it. Buy Z Toy.
Buy Z Toy. Yes. All right. So from there we move to contests.
Yes, a contest of champions. Our UK listeners have a chance to win the latest real-time pictures DVD release, The Doctors, the Paul McGann years. So, to do so, they need to send an email to comp-mcgannyears@doctorwhonews.net with their name, address, and where you heard about the contest, Unearthly Podcast, along with the answer to the following question. Who was Paul McGann's agent at the time he was cast as the Doctor?
Oh.
If you've listened to us talk in previous episodes, you should know the answer to that.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a hint. She was a companion of the Fifth Doctor. Contest ends on Sunday, 29th September. Remember, this is a UK contest only.
Yeah, if this wasn't just a UK contest, I would have already sent mine in.
Here's
I'm
a further hint. It wasn't just the Fifth Doctor.
All right. So, yep, go enter that contest. Moving on to media releases, we've got a little something from Candy Jar Books.
It's kind of funny that I come back and they actually have something for us when the last couple of times I was here they didn't, which was weird. Okay, in memorandum to last week's news of the passing of Terrence Dicks, Candy Jar Books is releasing Terrence Dicks, a tribute, free on their website. This book is a collection of memories of the artists and writers who worked with Dicks over the years, showing their best memories of the man. Terrence Dicks, a tribute, is available now from Candy Jar Books.
Oh, that's actually really nice of them. That's even free.
Yeah, well, it's a tribute. I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, it's basically a bunch of people recalling times they've had with Terrence Dicks, both working and at conventions.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, like I said, it's something to do in memorandum to Terrence Dicks, because that was a huge loss to Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I do wonder if there's going to be any, I kind of wonder how, like, the BBC might handle it with any Doctor Who DVD or Blu-ray releases. Like, if they'll wait until it's, like, a Blu-ray season collection or something of a season that he worked on. And have,
they might specialize an
tribute
extra
thing.
tidbit or something for one of those box sets, yeah.
They might.
Yeah, sort of like they did that with Barry Letts the year he died, as far as I know, with a DVD release. So it wouldn't surprise me if they do the same.
Thing is, they can do it with about any of them, because he was so big on the Target novelizations. He wrote damn near half the Doctor Who novelizations for Target.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's for Target though. We're thinking like BBC DVDs.
The BBC owns Target.
Oh.
Yeah, Target's now a division of BBC Books. So anyway, moving on. There is this actually might be considered an event, but when I started writing it, I thought it was a game release. But anyway, Tim?
Contest. Moving on. The Edge of Time. BBC Studios and HTC present a new Doctor Who adventure for Vive Cosmos VR, set for PC. In Doctor Who: The Edge of Time, players will be able to interact with the Doctor and have a crack at piloting the TARDIS, and eventually attempting to solve the mystery of the reality virus. The Edge of Time will be available on the 26th and 27th of September. At Hackney's Protein Studios in London. Walk-in slots will be available.
Yep. Probably should have been listed as an event, but like I said,
I'm getting mixed messages from that. Yeah, it said it's on PC, but they're also apparently having an event too.
yeah, it might be like an early, like a release, like, early.
That's true. They might be having like an early testing with people live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm still, slightly interested in it, but I certainly can't afford it.
Well, it's also VR, so I have no use for it.
That'd be something I'd be willing to try.
It's a
If
VR
I could
Vive.
afford
You
it,
need to
but I
actually get the headset, and that's going to be a couple hundred in of itself.
Exactly, which is why I said I can't afford it.
Big finish.
Saving my money to get a Nintendo Switch so I can play Metroid Prime 4 when it comes out. Anyway.
Yeah, I want to Switch too for various reasons.
2 new main range stories were released yesterday from Big Finish. In Tartarus, the Fifth Doctor, Tegan, and Nyssa wind up on the coast of the Roman Empire, circa 63 BC, and must help Cicero and his wife from the Roman gods themselves. Or are they?
Dun dun dun.
In Harry Houdini's War, the Sixth Doctor and Harry Houdini attempt to stop a central spy ring and wind up behind enemy lines. Doctor Who, Harry Houdini's War, and Doctor Who Tartarus are each available now at $14.99 on CD or $12.99 download. Those are in pounds, not in dollars.
Interesting.
Also, the latest entry in the Companion Chronicles released today. The First Doctor, Volume 3, consists of 4 new adventures performed by Carol Ann Ford, Anarchy Wills, Maureen O'Brien, and Peter Purvis. Stories include E is 4 by Julian Richards, Daybreak by John Pritchard, The Varden Invasion of Mirth by Paul Morris and Ian Atkins, and The Crumbling Magician by Guy Adams. Doctor Who The Companion Chronicles, the First Doctor Volume 3, is available now at £14.99 on download or $19.99 on a collector's edition CD. And coming in December, the final chapter of the War Master series releases. In Anti-Genesis, the War Master becomes the leader of the Daleks, and only a master from another universe can stop him. Really? They have to stop doing that. Seriously. Episodes include From the Flames by Nicholas Briggs, The Master's Dalek Plan by Alan Barnes. You want to bet they came up with the name before the plot?
Probably.
Maybe.
Shockwave by Alan Barnes and He Who Wins by Nicholas Briggs. The War Master Anti-Genesis is available for pre-order now at £22.99 on CD or £19.99 on download. Seriously, they need to do the whole stop. We need to bring somebody from another universe just to stop this.
Yeah, that's starting to become a crutch of theirs lately.
Yeah, it's getting over the top. And that is our news.
In fact, isn't that the second week in a row they had someone from one of the parallel universes come in to do something?
Yeah, that last week it was the Unbound Doctor coming to the main universe with Bernice Summerfield.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that technically, according to Big Finish, there's now 2 doctors tooling around the universe.
No.
Well, there we are. Anyway,
All right.
News is done.
Yep, nothing in the rumor mill. There's been no real. I haven't heard any big rumors for Doctor Who recently.
And we have a huge checklist from Thomas in particular, so let's get this sucker underway. First up is video games, and Heavy Rain is on the list. There you go.
Yeah. This must have been last month that I actually got it. I think maybe it was the month before, but they had it was like Detroit Becoming Human was offered as a free game for PS Plus on the PS4. And as a bonus, for some reason, you got Heavy Rain as well. So it was just
it's made by the same guy.
Okay. Well, yeah, the same studio. So it's just like, oh, okay. And I gotta say, I was kind of disappointed in the sense that I was hoping it to at least. I was either thinking, like, because, I mean, this game gets a lot of weird. Like, it's very. I don't even know if it's polarizing, but I know that I've seen people that's like, oh, it's not that bad, or just there are people that love it. There are people who think it's like so bad it's good, maybe, but it's just like, I don't know. The most fun I had was just the press X to Sean and Jason bits, because that's just like, okay, that's the meme stuff. That's what
Yep.
I'm here for. It felt like the FBI story could just be cut, and you would lose nothing, because that FBI guy just kind of feels there. So I don't know what the fuck they were really doing with that. Um, Pretty much everything else you could maybe keep, and it's just a lot of the dialogue or the acting is a bit off. And because of when this was originally made, a lot of the animation, while they're trying to be like, ooh, it's all new and it's fucking motion capture and this kind of shit, it's like, I don't know. Some of there's like very obvious bits where the mouth movement's fine, but then you look at the eyes and the eyes are just dead. It's like
I
no
have a
emotion
game
in
called
the
Heavy
eyes at
Bullets,
all.
but I do not have Heavy Rain. I've at least heard of Heavy Rain before, and I'm also aware of the
Mm.
creator because he made another game, and I'm gonna play it one of these days. His earliest game came out around the same time Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, and it was a game called Omnicron: The Nomad's Soul, and it
Mm.
featured music from and voice work by David Bowie.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he got to play a completely in a unique character, and he was allowed to give art direction for what his character looked like, and he kept going, "No younger me, no younger, younger, keep going there."
But yeah, like I don't know. Heavy Rain, like I played through Heavy Rain enough to get the platinum trophy, so I'll give it that. And there were some bits that I was fine with the second time through, where it's like, okay, now this is playing a bit better for me. And there are other bits, like the twist at the end is just like, okay, wait, this completely goes against shit that we've seen previous. How does this make any sense?
What
And
a
it's like, it just
twist!
kind
That's
of
how it makes sense.
falls, yeah, it falls to bits in the end and that. And then it's just like, and it's like, it's so funny because I feel like there are some elements of this. I mean, David Cage just desperately wants to make movies, but he can't because he'd get laughed out of Hollywood.
So
And
he
it's
makes
just,
these slapdash games that kind of work, kind
yeah,
of don't. He's just a
yeah, and
madman who
like,
keeps making these artsy games that are just like, oh dear.
yeah, there's like,
At least it's
it's
good for a
very,
chuckle.
yeah, it's like it's very pretentious in some bits, and some bits are just like, oh god, why is this here?
Because
And
he
then there's,
wanted to do it that way. That's why it's there.
yeah, um. I mean, I will admit it's fun going through and seeing the various ways that people can die, because pretty much everyone you play as can in some way, because there's no real set ending. And it's just funny because I feel like one of the best stories in it would make for a decent, like, either just a movie on its own, void of everything else, or just like a short film where it's just following this guy and then you don't know what's going on.
But you see, that'd be too
And
simplistic,
then
and David Cage wants to throw everything clean the kitchen sink at you.
yeah, pretty much. But yeah, like, and like if people like this game, fair enough. And again, I I was able to like at least get enough out of it that I didn't mind having to play through it several times to get all the endings and shit.
Mm.
But yeah, it's just like there's just some stuff that's kind of hilarious when it's not meant to be, and yeah, it's just I don't. Like,
Jason.
I've started Detroit Become Human, and it's like, yeah, this is probably better because some of the acting in Heavy Rain was pretty robotic anyway. So having androids is probably a better idea.
That and it's also been a generation or two of tech since then, so everything looks better anyway.
Yeah. Like, if people are interested and you haven't played it, I'd say maybe like give it a shot. But
Yeah, I wouldn't mind picking this
you
up for
know,
like $5 or something, just to have a chuckle and go through
yeah,
it once.
yeah. Or even hell, if you know someone who has it, just like borrow it off them or something.
Well, the only way I
Um,
would get it is so I could stream it, and the only way I can stream it is on PC. So I can't get loaner. It's all digital these days. Damn it.
but anyway, yeah,
All right, ready?
yeah.
Next
So,
one is Italian Job.
yes, and it's funny because when I saw this and one of the movies I'll be covering later, I
This
had to
is
see this
the
in the
original 1969
yes,
version. Okay,
yes.
double
This
checking
is the
on that.
'60s version. Which because it like is part of this thing they're doing in this cinema chain where they're showing a series of movies set between uh like it's the thing is like branded as Hollywood classics, and it's showing movies anywhere between like the 30s up to like the very end of the 60s. I think maybe they deviate into the early 70s now and then, but not very often.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I
and this
believe
was
that one reason I'm aware of this movie is because of the car chase.
oh yeah, it's like one of the more famous ones, and as far as I'm aware from what I remember reading up, it's actually been flat out like reused in like a TV show or something to that effect. Like
I
they just
know they
kind of
borrowed heavily from it for the first Bourne movie, Bourne Identity. As a matter of fact, they used a
um
very similar model cars.
um but yeah, like this movie I don't really know what I expected going in. I don't think my expectations were necessarily that high just in case. But I enjoyed it. I mean, there's some stuff that it's like I don't even know if it's so much, oh well that joke wouldn't fly now. It's more so like, it's maybe just the joke was maybe funny then, but just by today's standards, it's like, I don't know if that joke's all that funny. Like, Benny Hill, who I was like, what the fuck? Benny Hill's in this movie? Like, plays like this like computer programmer or whatever that they go after to help with the heist, and like his entire gag is that he's into large women.
Oh, okay.
And it's like in a way it's mainly kind of funny to me knowing what Benny Hill's humor usually is, and it's usually him chasing after women that are like way out of his league. So Benny Hill
Yeah.
playing a character that's after women around his
A
size is
bit
like,
amusing
okay,
for him to play against type, yeah.
yeah. Um, and generally, like the movie is pretty good. I mean, it's always kind of weird to me, or like it was generally kind of like, wow, it's kind of weird seeing Michael Caine that young. But it's like it's very noticeably still him. You're like you wouldn't be able to mistake him for anyone else. Um, and I feel like he's one of the few actors I even recognized from this movie. I think there were some other actors where I'm like, God, they look kind of familiar. But then when I looked them up, if I could even like look them up, it was like, oh no, that wasn't who I thought it was, or this or that. But yeah, in its own way, the movie's kind of slow moving. Um, outside of that chase, which, my God, that chase goes on a while.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually kind of surprised at how long it lasted. I mean, it's good, but it's kind of amazing how long that chase lasts. And that they pulled it off. Like, as far as I know, depending on what the budget was like, they might have only had one shot at that. And they managed
Some
to
parts
make
of
it
it, yeah.
work.
I think I think they did take a few retakes on certain scenes, but most of it was one take.
Mm. Yeah, because it was like, if we fuck these cars up, then we're screwed. So,
Mm-hmm. They couldn't
as
beat them
far
too
as I
hard.
know, there wasn't. Yeah.
It was a Paramount picture, so they probably had at least a budget to get a couple stunt replacement cards.
Mm.
At least for the really bad stuff, yeah. I've
For
been
the
able
stuff where
to,
they knew shit was going to happen, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I would definitely say that people should check this out. Just don't expect to have a definitive ending, because this is a movie notorious for ending on a literal cliffhanger. So, so like, keep that in mind, because the idea, from what I can tell, is that it was kind of sequel baity, but at the same time, it's like, I don't really know what you could have done outside of just flat out changing the ending entirely to make that, like, end with them, like, end in a different way. Like, without that, like, it
But
doesn't feel like
that's some need for a follow up, yeah.
yeah, it doesn't feel like, oh, that's like, it doesn't feel like, oh, that's it, kind of a thing. Like, and I kind of knew of the ending line, but when it did end, I was like, oh, okay. But I wasn't like, oh, what the fuck, that's it. But yeah, like, apparently there were potential ideas for sequels and that, and you would have maybe found out what happened, but in a way, I'm kind of fine not knowing. I mean, God knows what the remake from 2003 or whatever it was did, but yeah. Which I'd never seen. I knew that existed, but I was like, which is funny because I think I almost went, you know what? In a way, I could see this almost being remade, and I was like, oh wait, yeah, no, there was a remake, wasn't there? Oh
And
well.
no one seems to remember it.
Yeah,
I wonder
I've had that
why.
before with other. Yeah, I've had that before with other movies where I'm like, God, a remake of this. Oh wait, there has been.
There has been
But anyway, moving.
and
Yeah.
obviously there's a reason why you don't remember
There's
it.
so many
Oops.
times I see a remake of a movie and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Oh,
Look,
did you hear about the
hell,
latest
that-
one, by the way? Speaking of,
What are they remaking now?
Princess Bride.
No need to remake that movie.
Yep, exactly my
Yeah,
thoughts.
I
It's like,
don't.
why?
Who's
Why?
playing
Or if
Fez?
you're going to, wait until. Oh my God, what's his name? I'm blanking. The guy who played the kid in the
Fred Savage?
original.
Fred Savage?
Fred Savage. Wait till Fred Savage is an old man, because that would be kind of fun. Because you could have Fred Savage
Have Fred Savage
playing the
back as Grandpa.
granddad.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would actually be good.
it'd be
Because
one
that
of the
way,
best castings for the movie.
that actually no, that I'd actually agree with that as a remake / sequel.
Mm,
It's
Oh,
basically the
remake
same
sequel.
movie
Yeah.
where he's
yeah.
basically playing the same character as the grandfather, doing it to his own grandson.
Mm-hmm.
Just the
Yeah.
characters are different because it's all happening in the mind of the new grandson.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why it's slightly different because it's not the grandson's imagination, the new one.
Right.
Mm, yeah. And
See
speaking
that
of
now
other
that's
remakes, they're
logical
doing.
if you want to bring in a new generation. But yeah,
Mm. And also, as far as this year goes, there's a Black Christmas, the second Black
the
Christmas
second Black
remake
Christmas
coming
remake.
out,
Yeah, like we needed the first
which
one.
is yeah. But anyway, a movie that I saw before Italian Job, but listing these as far as when they originally came out. Deliverance, and holy shit, I did not know what the hell to expect going in Deliverance.
Oh, wow.
This was a movie that fucking
Dun
like,
dun
got to
dun
me.
dun dun dun
Like,
dun.
oh yeah, and now that was the funny thing. As soon as it came up, I'm like, oh yeah, so that's where that hillbilly banjo thing comes from.
Oh yeah.
And now, like, now that I hear it everywhere else, I'm like, oh, okay, now I know.
Now you know. Now you know
Well,
the
actually,
horror.
that particular sound predates Deliverance by about 100
Oh
years.
yeah.
That
As
is
far as I know,
the
they
song
actually got
itself, yeah,
sued
but
over
that's
that.
where it
really
came
went
back
into the
around.
public consciousness. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, from what I remember reading up, they actually got sued over using it or something like that.
I
Because they
doubt it.
didn't. They
I don't
used
think they were
without.
sued. I'm sure the
Oh,
people who
like
made
not
it might have
sued,
been,
but
if there
like
was someone that had rights
they
to it, might have been pissed. But
yeah they used it. They used it without permission, as far as I know.
As far as I'm
So
aware, dueling banjos has been
person.
around since the Civil War. So,
Mm,
eh.
it's hard to say if there was anyone had rights. I'm sure someone assumed they had rights, but
yeah, or it might have been like they based it on a certain composition by, and they credit it to. But then the person found
maybe.
out. It's like, well, no, you didn't ask for me. You didn't ask to use my arrangement, because it might have been they were using someone's recording of it without permission or something like that. I forget, but either way, yeah, this is definitely a movie I would say where, as much as I would recommend people see it, it's like maybe like look up a basic summary of what's happening first before you
be
get into
aware
it.
that what
Like,
you're about to see is some shocking
um,
shit.
yeah, like.
I forgot you were going to see this. Now that you brought it back up, I'm like, oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's like
Horror of horrors, you will
I was
see Burt
wrong.
Reynolds without a mustache.
I was wrong. Dueling banjos apparently was from 1955.
Oh,
mm,
much sooner than we thought. Yeah.
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 So it could be that someone had rights to it and was pissed.
Mm. As far as I know, they like settled it out of court or something. But yeah.
Probably.
Um. But and hell, it's actually kind of interesting. Apparently,
Actually,
person
no.
who
The guy that sued won.
Oh.
He won songwriting credit and
there you
percentage of the royalties.
Ooh.
nice.
Yeah, that's a big win.
mm. Um. But yeah, like this is definitely a movie where coming out after it, I was just like, I needed like another hour or two to like
You
to
need
like
an hour or
collect
two and
myself.
a hell of a shower to clean off the filth.
Because it's just like, holy shit, that movie's intense.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a pretty
and not
bleak
even all
film.
that, and yeah, and like arguably not all that much actually happens, but just what actually does happen is
Mm-hmm.
just that intense and impactful that it's like, fuck me, it just sticks
Yeah.
with you. And I would argue there are a lot of movies nowadays that should like, there are a lot of directors and there are a lot of writers and all that should be forced to watch this movie, because I can remember thinking this movie from the fucking early 70s had more effect on me than some of the shit that people try to do now to get a reaction out of people.
Right?
Like, fucking hell. I even remember thinking, like, the rape scene in this, compare that to, like, how that's played, no music, nothing, and it's just played as the horror that it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you compare that to like the basement rape scene in fucking Pulp Fiction, and that's just like, it just kind of happens, and it's it's like it's gross and shit, but you're not like, compared to that, which that is just like, oh shit, like that was like making me squirm in my seat, whereas the Pulp Fiction one's just like, yeah, this is kind of a thing that's happening, and it's kind of gross.
Well, the pulp,
Um,
both movies are kind of uncomparable because they were very much their own different tastes from like
oh
a
yeah,
decade apart.
yeah. Um,
Both of them
but
though
like
can
I
give you
just
some of the
remember,
same
yeah.
chills though.
Yeah, I just remember like that was the immediate comparison for some reason that came to mind, where I was just like, it kind of shows, okay, this movie. I mean, that's another thing that I feel like people could, like, filmmakers could learn from this movie, is that a lot of the time, musically, less is more. Because if they'd played music over that rape scene, yeah, it might have helped make it even more intense, but it also could have taken away from it. Whereas there's very little music in this movie. There's like the actual duel where the guy with the guitars and the kid with the banjo, and then they play a bit of it later, and then a bit of it at the end, and then that's basically it. Like, there's not much music to this, and it actually is to this movie's benefit. Like, the whole time I'm just sitting there thinking, God, if this actually had more soundtrack, it would be so worse for it, because it just plays it as real,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so little music, and the few bits and pieces of music, for the most part, is like, because it's happening. Whereas
Yeah.
there's very little like overdubbed music. But yeah, like I would, yeah, like
And the little bits that are overdubbed are more repeats of the banjo tune a little bit
yeah,
for
yeah.
tension and horror.
I will say it was funny to learn that the sheriff at the end was played by the person who wrote the story this movie was based on. But and though apparently he like was iffy with the director, I forget. But I think he also wrote the movie version as well. I might be thinking of something else. But
He wrote the novel that this was based on.
And I might have seen another movie recently where it's a matter of they actually got the author back to do the screenplay.
Yeah.
Of course, it's funny because having watched Deliverance now, I'm like, God, any movie like this where it's like a bunch of city folk going into the backwoods and having to deal with inbred hicks of some description, nothing's going to compare to this now. Like, I remember just wanting to watch the Wrong Turn movie, at least the first Wrong Turn movie, because I thought, why not? It'll be dumb fun. And then seeing this, and I'm like, I don't know, that'll be like even worse.
I think I first saw this movie when I was like 14. And for I think months afterwards, I would have a dream, and just suddenly in the middle of a dream, a voice would yell out, "Squeal like a pig!" And I'm like, "Fuck!" I would just jump out of bed.
I'm very surprised that I didn't have any nights after seeing this movie.
Well, like I said, I was 14.
Oh so, yeah, but I mean, like, even then, as 28-year-old, this like horror movies don't get me anymore. At least it's very rare.
You have to watch the good ones.
This was like, holy fuck. Like, I could just feel it in my gut and my chest that I was just like, okay, I'm gonna need a while. I need to watch some happy stuff and watch some dumb stuff so I can get over that. So yeah, I would recommend people give this a try, but if you think that rape scene's going to be a bit too much, then I would say skip it. But yeah, otherwise I would say give it a shot. Next one,
Enter the Dragon.
Which I swear the only reason this is on here is because I do not remember seeing this the entire way through before. If I had, then this wouldn't be.
I have, but it's been almost 2 decades. It was in the middle of my martial arts mania, where I started watching a whole bunch of Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan films.
All right, so I have to ask both of you then, which version did you see? Because there is an extended version which was the original cut that Bruce Lee okayed. And then they apparently edited it down for theaters.
I'm not sure. It was probably whichever version first came out on DVD.
It might have been the original theatrical one then.
Because remember, this would have been around 2000 when I did this, 2001, 2000. And I just purchased it on DVD and just watched it like 6 times.
Yeah, I'm
trying to remember when I got mine. I think I might have got mine somewhere around 2010, and it was in the extended cut, which had missing stuff in it.
Because it didn't help that, as far as I know, I feel like, oh no, it's not this. It's a different movie that I'm thinking of. He stopped. He stopped filming Game of Death, did this, and then died before he can finish Game of Death. Or was it something else?
I don't know if it was Game of Death. I thought he was gone to a totally new movie that he hadn't even started yet, when he got killed.
Mm.
After
Are you talking about the 40th anniversary edition, Matt?
I'm not sure. I know. I think I
Because
have
they
to
really,
find my copy again. It's somewhere.
yeah, because for a long time, it was released only in the theatrical version here in the United States. Since 2001, it was released in the UK territories uncut, but we didn't get the uncut version until 2013.
Hmm.
Okay, from what I can tell, he was filming Game of Death, and they stopped filming that, filmed Enter the Dragon, and then died before Enter the Dragon was released, and he could finish filming Game of Death.
Yeah.
So Game of Death actually had to use, like a stand-in for certain stuff.
Okay, I don't know that it's a 40th anniversary. I know it was the special edition, and I know it had missing footage brought back into the actual theatrical play through on the DVD itself. That much I do know.
It might have just been stuff that was cut for like excessive violence or whatever the hell.
Well, whatever the stupid edit was made for theatrical versions, I don't know. We were never given an excuse, only that it happened, and that was rather annoying,
Yeah.
especially since it was not Bruce Lee's original vision of the movie.
It wouldn't
because
surprise
they
me if
edited
it
it
was
down
a
his
matter of
vision.
yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a matter of like they cut out a lot of the more violent stuff at the time, and then
They might cut back some of the violence, but I
times
also
change.
heard that they were trying to cut out some of his how you say it, some of his inspirational / training stuff that he did in the movie too.
Okay.
Like the don't concentrate on the finger bit, they were actually attempting to remove that completely.
But yeah, like it's actually funny because of all of these like old movie screenings I went to. For one thing, I don't entirely well, like I'm not going to complain that they did a screening of this, but I also was trying to think why, because normally it was like I went to a Matrix screening and it was the 20th anniversary, like in between this time, but I'm not talking about that because I've seen the Matrix before. And the Matrix had a good showing of like people, and so did this. Like this probably actually had more people, maybe, than the Matrix one, or if not, the Matrix one had more. But like this had the most of any old movie screening that I've been to in the past year, and it was just like, holy shit, people really came out of the woodwork for Bruce Lee.
The man was a master. You can't say no.
Yeah. I will admit there is some stuff where I'm like, I kind of laugh just because of the faces that Bruce Lee's pulling. But not in like my God, this is like, not like it's like completely farcical, but it's just like, okay, that's a bit like you just can't help it because, but you almost to the point you almost feel like he's kind of playing it up.
Well, the thing is about his combat is he did play it up a little bit because essentially he would try to get people into a rhythm, and then he would do something weird and different to get them out of that rhythm and mess with them.
Yeah. But generally, I enjoyed this movie. There are like a few things that like, oh, I wish that character had been like, been done differently, this, that, whatever. Although I was interested to learn that the only reason John Saxon is in this film is because they changed the fate of his character. Apparently, his character was originally supposed to be the one to die, and he forced whether it was him or his agent, well, like he will not sign on to this movie unless you have one of the other characters die. So that's why the black guy dies instead. Which is like, dang, I really wish that the other guy had stayed alive, but oh well.
Nah, you have to have the emotional punch where one of the cool characters we're following has to get murdered, so that way we have a bigger reason to want to see the bad guy fall. Just natural kung fu movies.
Yeah. I guess at the very least, it's like, we actually get to know him a bit first, and it's not just he's just kind of there and then dies.
Yeah, at least
which
he's
would
not
have been
just completely
annoying.
cannon fodder. There's actually some hit to that.
Hell, sort of like how I like that bit where you see the flashback where his Bruce Lee's character's sister is captured or whatever, or like kills herself because she's being pursued, but it's a matter of like she's actually putting up a fight, and it's only when she's backed into a corner and knows this ain't gonna end well for me, fuck it, and just kills herself. It's like, that was better than just, oh no, she's been captured and then possibly horrible shit done to her off screen. We actually get to see a fight for her life, which, wouldn't necessarily, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I don't feel like that was typical for the time, or at least not in a Hollywood film anyway. So that was nice.
Yeah,
I
it
would
didn't happen all the time.
Yeah, I would definitely say people should go out of their way to give this a shot if you're interested in generally martial arts films, but even more specifically if you think you would like Bruce Lee films. If you haven't seen any, I would say this is worth a shot.
Yeah, I'd say if you see one Bruce Lee movie, see this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically, this is the first film that anybody says, if you're like, name me a Bruce Lee movie I should watch.
Enter the Dragon.
This immediately comes to people's minds.
It was his last film, and it's probably one of his best films.
Because that was my experience with it when I was starting to look at it. What Bruce Lee movie should I watch? Enter the Dragon. Okay.
Any other films? Enter the Dragon. Is there any other Enter the Dragon? Okay.
Whereas you ask, what Jackie Chan movie should I watch? And you'll get a myriad of answers. Some people will tell you Rumble in the Bronx. Some people tell you Legend of Drunken Master. It's all over the place. Nobody will tell you City Hunter.
No, we'll tell you City Hunter. We all agree that City Hunter can be forgotten. Thanks.
The first time I watched Enter the Dragon and I saw the credits, I thought it said starring Bruce John Saxon Lee. I didn't know that was his full name. Oh wait, that's two names.
All right, next one is The Castle,
which is an Australian film.
Yep, it is. Such a goddamn Australian film that I would be very surprised if it actually got released anywhere.
It did get released here under Miramax.
Yep.
It was Village Roadshow in Australia, and Miramax released it here. I don't think it did particularly well.
Oh, not in America, no. I doubt it would have done well at all. But the interesting thing is, I remember looking up the wiki page just to see how much it might have made, and made over 10 million within Australia, and I think it specifies specifically within Australia and New Zealand. It made 10 million.
No, it made 10 million total. It made 10.3 million total, and that includes its international budget. But that they listed.
It would not. It would not surprise. Yeah, it would not surprise me if the vast majority of that was from Australia and New Zealand.
I don't doubt it.
Which is, I would say, outside of very few movies before and very few movies after, that's an achievement. Because there have been plenty of movies.
That is the Australian release. It never got released in the United States, although Miramax purchased it.
Because this is. It's funny because I remember coming out of the screening and being like, I don't know if this could have been released in the United States, because it is such. I mean, like, there isn't necessarily a ton of typical Australian, like, slang and all that would have, like, gone over people's heads necessarily, but it's just such an Australian movie that it's like, I don't know if this could have. Whereas, like, something like Wolf Creek, no wonder that did well, because that's just, a hitchhiker horror movie. Like, it does not surprise me that Wolf Creek did as well as it did, but this doing well enough in Australia and New Zealand was enough for this, because as far as I'm concerned, it's a good movie, and I feel like I would suggest people who are not from Australia and New Zealand should give it a shot. But yeah, just keep in mind that it's a very Australian movie, despite the fact that the actual basic plot is a very universal plot.
Looks like it was shot in the 1980s as a sitcom.
Because it's so close to a fucking airport. And the government is trying to kick them out because they had a clause that allowed them to buy out this housing to sell to the airport so the airport could make new infrastructure. And the dad of this family is like, fuck you, I'm going to fight this, basically. And that's basically what the movie's about.
Mm.
And it's very good. I mean, if you are a Marvel fan, you'll at least know one line from this movie, because Thor Ragnarok features a variation of, technically, but the line where Valkyrie is asking for a certain amount of money, and the Grandmaster's sort of bodyguard says, "Tell her she's dreaming." That's a reference to this movie.
Somehow not surprised.
Yeah, like he slipped in that reference, which is like, okay, that's hilarious. I hadn't even seen the movie before. Just like, I knew that is just such a Australian.
Mm.
Okay, I knew somehow managed to slip that into a friggin' Marvel movie.
I mean,
Yeah,
why
like
not?
I would definitely say that, like, fellow Australians haven't seen it yet should definitely watch it. But um, as far as, like, if you're from elsewhere and can Australian accents and all that, which they're not all that thick anyway, I would definitely say give this a shot. It's a universal enough plot that it's not like mired in very typical Australian stuff. I mean, the court case stuff is like, you have to deal with seeing people wearing those silly wigs and shit because because we take after the British with how that works. But
The
yeah,
powdered wig. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, definitely a good movie worth seeing. Into the movies from this year, finally.
Midsommar.
Yep.
And mind you, you don't need to go over the plot of Midsommar because we did have Aaron go over it.
So basically, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, she did do a review of it the 1 week she was here. I think
Yeah.
like 6-7 weeks ago. I think.
About a month or so
Yeah,
ago,
I think
yeah.
that was like, it might have been with Fear Her, I think, because I know that like a week that she was gonna show up, I had to pull out because I was just too sleep deprived.
Yeah, well, it was something like that. Yeah, it was Fear Her. Now that I think about it, yeah, and she did talk about it as much as we could without spoilers. So.
Although I think she still gave away plot.
Like, the funny thing is one of the takeaways I had from this movie is kind of in its own way. Like, it depending on if you've seen the movie I reference, it could be a spoiler, so I don't know if I'd bring it up or not.
I think she already mentioned it. Does it have something to do with a burning wicker?
Yes.
Yep. Yep, she already gave that away.
Okay. So yeah, basically my thing was, we finally got a decent remake of the Wicker Man.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, in its own way, like as it was going on, I kind of realized I know where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the strength of this movie, at least for me, was that I figured out where it was going, but I still enjoyed the ride there. I wasn't like looking at the clock and being like, okay, how much longer is this gonna go?
How
Or
much longer
anything
until
like
you get
that.
to either the bees or just the burning?
um and I liked that it was, I mean, it's generally its own take on that kind of story. I mean, for one thing, it's set in the middle of nowhere in Europe, um, as opposed to some fake island off the coast of Britain. Um, and yeah, like it's just, I feel like this could be very divisive just because it's so slow, but because there's never really any actiony, like fast-paced stuff in it at all. It's just like a very, yep, this is happening. As opposed to, like, as far as I know, the people who made this, or at least some of the people who made this, were involved in Hereditary, which is very high anxiety, very frantic, and in parts, or at least in the end. This never really has that. I mean, there's, as it's building to a climax, there is like, oh shit, this is happening. But, it's never like as ramped up on steroids as Hereditary is by comparison. So in a way, it's actually kind of a nice come down. You could argue, like, if you were to watch this and then Hereditary and then this would make a nice come down from Hereditary. Is like, well, I want to watch a horror movie again, but I don't want to watch one that's as intense as that. Um, yeah, I enjoyed it. I almost felt like I recognized some of the actors from this, but not really. Um, at the very least, oh god, I can't remember who he was. Like one of the annoying characters, well, the sole really annoying character anyway. I like vaguely recognized, but I couldn't be bothered looking up his name. But yeah, I would say this is worth giving a shot. I went and saw this as soon as I could, just because this had a very limited release in Australia, and as far as I know, we got it like a month or two after the US did. So
Hmm.
yeah. Okay, moving on to the last one, Weathering with You. Holy crap! I try to see as many anime films as I can that get released in Australia, because at least in my hometown, we have a bad habit of either we might get it, but it'll be a very limited release, possibly even one-off.
Yeah, this hasn't even come to the US yet.
Yeah, like if it's anything like Your Name, you guys will early next year. Because I remember like seeing Your Name one year, and then it wasn't until like the year after that someone I know who does movie reviews um finally put up a review of it because it finally got a US release, and I was like, holy shit, what? Usually we get the release like way after you guys do, so that was weird.
Well, I think the big problem there
Yeah.
is that for whatever reason, a lot of them want to actually have a dub, and we
Mm,
have very few places that do anime dubs anymore, that actively do them, I should say. So you have to wait
yeah.
for like one of the
I
three or
guess it
so
didn't help that
studios.
this was Toho and not Ghibli, so it wasn't gonna
There's
get the
that too.
Disney treatment.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. A Studio Ghibli film will go straight to Disney because they've got an exclusive
Yeah,
contract.
they got connections and rights to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Toho has to shop around to the various dub companies, and that'll usually go through either Ocean Studio in Vancouver, or I forget what the name of the one is down in Texas. I think that might be Filmation Studios down in Texas, or whatever ADV's studio became.
Well, ADV has been technically split into like 4 different things. I don't know if they actually make new stuff. They keep selling the old stuff, and anything they can get the rights to with quick and easy
Yes,
sub.
but their studio, their recording studio, the physical studio. I don't know who bought it.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's in use, if they even still have it.
Yeah, but basically those are the only 3 studios I know that are active or
Or at least used to be. Yeah.
Because I know Genian Studios, that just got shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So there used to be about 4 or 5 studios here in the U.S. They're down to like 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 of them, and we can't guarantee all of them are active.
I know Ocean is, because they're the ones that do work for Viz, along with other stuff. Funimation handles almost entirely Funimation stuff. They don't also handle other people's stuff. Which I think means that this is apparently done by a group called G Kids, is going to be the American studio. And actually, they've got a contract for Miyazaki outside of Ghibli, so.
Well, there you go. That might
But,
actually be something one of you to look for.
Yeah, apparently they might have a dub studio in New York. That might be Central Park Media's old studio. Because I know they're inactive now.
Yeah, a lot of them have gone inactive over like the last 5-10 years.
Sorry, you started with the concept of dub came up with people that used to know the market.
Mm-hmm. Knew the market before it started and suddenly just crumbled up in itself.
Yeah, like there's not much. Okay, I will say it's kind of funny that the whole conceit of this is based around the weather and a lot of the stuff that happens, and it's like, God, it's so weird watching a movie like this when climate change is a thing that we're trying to deal with right now. Like the further into the movie, it's like it's not necessarily a message in the movie. Like this could have nothing to do. That could have not been going through the director's head or anyone working on its head. But just it came into my mind as I was watching it. It's like, oh yeah, that's a thing, isn't it? But yeah, it's a good movie. I would have to watch Your Name again because I've seen a lot of people like decrying this compared to Your Name, which I feel like is unfair because they're two very like, yeah, there's like, oh, boy meets girl thing going, but at the same time, to me they're different enough that I don't want to compare them. So, like, as far as I'm concerned, this one hit me right in the gut emotionally, and so did Your Name. So,
Oh, I loved Your Name. That was one of my favorite movies of that particular year.
Like, I don't know where this would rank among the movies I've seen this year generally or whatever, but yeah, I would, like, this got me in the gut probably a few times, and generally just I enjoyed it. Like, if you can find it somewhere legally to watch it subbed, I would just go for it. Like, I didn't give a shit. Like, I used to definitely be one of those people who was like, no thanks, I'll watch it dubbed first and then watch it subbed. But more and more these days, I'm just like, fuck it. If subbed is the only way I've got to watch it, I'll watch it subbed. Especially if I'm in a cinema, because I'm like forced to focus. I haven't got any distractions.
Please support the official release.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like, that's another thing. I want to actually support this shit legally, so it will actually keep happening and getting these kinds of releases. And like,
Well,
it's like, if people can't afford it, that's fair enough. But it's like, it might end up on like a streaming service at some point. I mean, there's an Australian streaming service that's owned by one of the major anime distributors in this region, that has actually started putting anime movies up on their streaming service and stuff like that they have the rights to. So just like, oh, cool.
yeah, we here will probably see it on Crunchyroll.
Before too terribly long, at least for a subtitled version.
Well, it's probably there. It's going to be held off for its theatrical release, which is apparently supposed to be early next year.
So someone did grab up the rights then.
Oh yeah, like I said, it's this G Kids
Okay.
company in New York. They've gotten the rights to it. They said they wanted to hold off on a release until they have both a sub and a dub. So they said at an anime convention that was going to be early 2020.
Yeah. So pretty much they're
congratulations and
waiting
good luck.
There's going to be an awards qualifying screening at certain events this year, such as the Toronto International Film Festival, which just happened. And that's going to give it the ability to get qualified for, various awards.
And that seems to be it for reviews then?
Nope, I had one.
Oh.
Yeah.
I put it in at the last minute, and it's just good. It's going to be. And that is the fact that in a effort to basically try to put some funny in my life, yesterday, as I was recovering from my gout outbreak, I loaded up Netflix and I watched the Netflix series that's Gabriel Iglesias' sitcom, Mr. Iglesias. I don't know if you've heard about it. If you know who Gabriel Iglesias is, you might know him better as Fluffy. He's a stand-up comic that's been going for about 20 years. Does the 5 or 6 levels of fatness I've referred to a few times.
He also does the story about the gift basket.
The racist gift basket is one of his classics, yes.
Even better yet is one of his recent stand-ups. He got the friend he pulled the basket on to tell his side of the story.
That's actually about 5 years old now. Anyway, this is actually him in a sitcom, and we've had a long history of stand-up comics getting sitcoms. Bill Cosby got the Cosby Show, a couple of decades before I found out he was a date rapist.
Yep.
Roseanne Barr got Roseanne decades before we found out she was a racist.
Yep.
Tim Allen got Home Improvement, and he's still on the public's good side.
He's on the public's good side, although the reason he went to Disney to get stuff like that done was because he got pinned for drunk driving.
That's one thing. He hasn't gone on a racist rant.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything recently that's turned people against him. He just decided that at that point to turn his life around, and that's when he entered into comedy bits.
Anyway, so Gabriel Iglesias basically does a comedy bit where he is a high school teacher, history teacher in his old high school. It's kind of like Welcome Back, Kotter, with a Southern California Latino Black community feel. And a lot of his students are the troubled students. One of the students is a genius, knows all the material stuff, but is almost getting expelled from school because she has to leave after lunch and go work 3 jobs to support her family. One doesn't apply himself. Others are more humorous, like a character that believes everything he sees on Reddit and is this huge conspiracy theory nuts. he also winds up with the high school jock who fails to apply himself to his classwork because he's entitled.
Hmm.
And, it's a bunch of characters, and he deals with this, and he's basically playing himself, which is nice. Kind of like, what if he had never gone into stand-up comedy and decided to be a high school...
Decided to become a teacher and help the high school he graduated out of. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of how that works. And it basically chronicles a semester at Wilson High, and you get to meet, the principal, who's this very kind of ethnocentric black woman who is almost, it's like they took Gabriel's black woman voice and found an actress that matched that. There is actually a scene in one of them where he's basically doing that voice. They're like, "Wow, you sound like the principal." No, I don't. Walks in the principal's office. She's saying the exact same thing.
Immediately walks back out.
No, he just gets wide-eyed and kind of. You've got his best friend from high school, who is also a teacher there, who's a slacker, kind of horny Mexican. He's kind of like Batman without the superhero.
Oh, you see the one here that I see with like the sweater on and a tie?
Yeah.
Mm.
Then you've got the other teacher who is she's the new teacher that came from rural South Dakota. Who is very, very white bread, very, very out of her element. But they still manage to fit it and find this kind of bizarre friendship. Also, there's another guy that's playing a teacher that was apparently a teacher when they were in high school.
Mm.
And is very old and bitter.
Yeah, I think I see him drinking a shot.
And then in later episodes, they've got the coach, who they discover basically goes around with one of those big freaking hand kegs, which they find out is full of booze.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a reason they haven't won a championship in 5 years. But no, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I think I laughed through most of it just because you're dealing with Gabriel Iglesias style humor. He tries to explain, every now and then you'll get the tail end or the beginning of a history lesson in which he's doing voices. There's a bit where he asks the question, he's comparing the American Revolution to the Civil War with Scotland. And it's like, so what did the Americans have that the Scottish didn't? One of the students raised up and goes, "Weapons?" It's like, you think weapons? You think they're out there on the field going, "Angus, do you think we're forgetting something?" "No, I got my iPod, my headset. Do you think we're missing something?" "Weapons!" It's just great humor. It's wonderful stuff. Some of the characters are a little stereotypical, like the evil vice principal. Hell, I've done that cliche, or Bob has done that cliche.
Mm-hmm.
The evil, like, uncaring vice principal is almost a trope. So some of it's stereotypical, but a lot of it, you deal with the Gabriel Iglesias humor and his self-depreciating jokes, or the cravings, like somebody comes in, bribes him with like a freaking apple fritter. And he starts making the noises, and he does the hot chick voice a lot when doing stuff. It's great. So it's a good 10 episode watch on Netflix that I really just enjoyed. So if you've ever seen any of Fluffy's stand-up humor, it's a sitcom that you can sit down and watch and enjoy.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So let's get down to business.
Business indeed. Stopwatch is ready. Who's up? Oh, Thomas, yes, you're behind.
You've been gone, and Bill's been bitching. So it's basically been me, Tim, and Matt for the last 6 weeks.
It's your turn to meet Peter Pan.
Since you're here
turn.
now, and after tonight, we've got 2 more episodes before the Macra Terror. You can do the summary tonight. I have
Mhm.
spoken.
Yeah.
Lord Randy
I
has
knew
spoken.
Thankfully, I'd checked ahead of time, so I knew it was coming, so I knew to take note.
All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1, begin.
Okay, the Doctor, Polly, Ben, and Jamie land in the TARDIS and go for a look around to figure out where they are, realizing they're on Earth somewhere, but they don't know exactly when. While they're looking around, Polly falls into a trap, seemingly, and is captured, with the others falling into the trap as well. At one point, their captors give them a meal, in which the Doctor realizes it must have been prepared by a scientist named Zaroff, who is thought to have been dead. So he writes a note that Polly manages to get to him, and Zaroff stops him from being sacrificed. The Doctor turned out to be lying about a secret he had to tell Zaroff in his note, but Zaroff is seemingly fine with it once he realizes that he's got a fellow scientist to talk to. Meanwhile, Ben and Jamie are sent to work at the mines, while Polly is informed she's going to be turned into a fish person, but the Doctor and a servant girl named Ara manage to save her before that can happen. Zaroff informs the Doctor of his plans to attempt to raise Atlantis to the surface by lowering the sea level, but the Doctor realizes his actual plan is to just destroy the world, and he manages to escape the lab. Ben and Jamie manage to escape the mines with 2 of the workers that had a plan to get out, and they find Polly while the Doctor manages to convince a priest called Ramo of Zaroff's intentions, and Ramo takes the Doctor to their king, Thaus, who turns out to not believe them, and hands them over to Zaroff, who allows them to be sacrificed. The 2 are then saved by Ben, Polly, and Jamie, with Ben, from what I can remember, pretending to be the goddess Amdo and allowing them to escape again. The group then split up and capture Zaroff and also convince the fish people, who are slaves, to stop supplying Atlantis with food. Zaroff tricks them into thinking that he's suddenly ill by faking a seizure or a heart attack or something, and manages to wound and seemingly later technically kill Ramo when the others leave, taking Polly with him as a hostage, even though that doesn't last all that long because Jamie and the 2 Jamie and the 2 mine workers manage to save her, but Zaroff gets away. Zaroff ends up going to the King Thaus, and once Thaus realizes how insane he is, Zaroff shoots him and gets other people to shoot the people that were in the room with him. The Doctor and Ben manage to sabotage Zaroff's plan by causing a radiation leak, which causes Atlantis to start sinking further into the ocean, or at the very least, start filling up with water. Jamie, Polly, the workers, and managed to get Thaus out as well, with at least one of the other Atlanteans. And the Doctor and Ben try to convince the other scientist, manages to convince the other scientist to leave as well. The Doctor manages to trick Zaroff and lock him out of the lab, but being stubborn, Zaroff won't leave and ends up drowning. They all make it back to the surface and leaving the TARDIS, only for something to go wrong, and the episode ends with the TARDIS going out of control when the Doctor tries to take them to Mars. The end.
All right. 4 minutes, 3 seconds.
Not bad,
Bing on the nosy.
considering I thought you'd be a bit rusty. All right, so let's talk about what we liked about the serial. And Tim, you are first.
Okay. What I liked about this serial, I just loved the colorful characters. Starting especially with Dr. that guy.
Zarov?
Zaroff. He always was a bit off.
You know, I thought at first, oh my god, it's going to be the stereotypical, and it was, but it was believably so. I mean,
Yes,
this
he
was
pulled it off.
this was a man who obviously had snapped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It wasn't just I'm evil because I'm evil. It's evil because I've absolutely flipped my lid.
I've
Yeah.
absolutely believably flipped my lid, and I'm just seeking power, no matter what the cost it will be in the
He's
end.
not seeking power. I want to. It's like I'll
Actually,
show
not.
you all
Yeah, I
how
shouldn't
to
say
never-
seeking power. He wants to prove his power.
Yeah.
I want to. I want to show the world who laughed at me that, like.
I'm a real
I'll be the boss.
badass. I'm gonna crack the planet.
It's that fools I'll show you all, which I thought would be so stereotypical.
But
Because
he,
usually people can't pull it
usually
off.
it's really done really poorly. But he actually did a legit job of it, despite what he was given.
Yeah, it's a thing where he's actually, rather than playing it up for camp, he's actually playing it straight.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's lines where he runs off laughing, and I complained about that when we did Horns of the Nyman.
Mm-hmm.
But here, I'm like, actually, that makes sense because he's just out of his gourd.
He's out of his gourd, but not only that, but he has actually a menacing laugh instead of a googly cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs laugh.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I actually bought that myself. All right. So who's next? That would be Matt.
Thing I liked overall. There's a couple of things I liked. I'm trying to decide which ones I want to go with. I'll actually go with the costuming. The costuming was actually not that bad. There's some questionable stuff, but the worshiper outfits were not too far off touch. The Atlantean outfits otherwise were also kind of interesting. The fact that the normal humans are all wearing like scuba diver outfits and they weren't like ridiculous ones either. They were actually pretty solid ones.
If you remember Warriors of the Deep, I bitched about their outfits because they're in an underwater sea base.
And it's not even slightly scuba, yeah.
Yeah, whereas these outfits are very wetsuit. They're very much
wetsuit. But they're also very uniform, so you can tell they're a particular group.
Yes. It matched both well.
Mm-hmm.
If they had looked at this episode
and gone, that was how to do it. Yeah.
That would have made and used this concept as a kind of a basis. Redress it, but go,
redress it, but modernize it a little bit more. Yeah, they could have totally done a better job there very easily because they already did it.
Yeah.
All right. Thomas.
Ooh. I'm actually going to go with the fact that outside of like one instance, at least to me, it felt like for the most part they actually handled the three companions dynamic pretty well.
Considering that Jamie was a new ad, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like this was written before, as far as I can tell, this was written before Jamie was set to actually like continue on.
Quite possibly.
The fact that they had to rewrite it and give some of Ben and Polly's lines to him, even with that, it for the most part they handled it pretty well. I mean, there is still a bit where like Polly's just off doing who knows what at one bit, but other than that, for the most part they handle it pretty well.
Yeah, considering the fact that they had to write him out of part of the moon base because
they didn't have any idea what to do with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that was the serial after this, so.
Yeah. Also, would add on top of that, technically, it's more than just 3 companions as well. There's technically the 2 miners that join the crew as well, and
For
the one
priest
tribal girl and the priest
yeah.
for a while. And God, they had so many characters that were in it for a while.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Especially for a 4-parter. Like that seems like a
that seems like an
more
almost impossible
something that
task,
you
but
do
they
in
managed to
something.
cut all the fat and keep it going.
Mm.
All right, and now it's down to me. What I liked. I'm having to think, because every time somebody'd come up with something, I would come up with something else, and that'd be the next thing somebody listed.
Like just down the line, huh?
Yeah. All right, let's see. Overall, I don't think the sets were that bad.
There was maybe 1 or 2 questionable ones, but for the most part, yeah, they were pretty solid.
Yeah.
And usually the sets are the thing that I mocked the most about Doctor Who.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that this was happening, not too far into the future. I mean, this was a 66 serial, and it was supposed to be happening in like the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they had like computers there that looked 60s, understandable. It's only 5 years from now.
Yeah, that's not a stretch, and they've been away from the surface for how long?
Mm-hmm. So, as opposed to the one that we saw that was taking place, 500 years in the future in another part of the galaxy, and they're still using like freaking reel-to-reel machines.
And boilers, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess actually also not to mention the scientist Zaroff is supposed to have been presumed dead for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. So the fact that it's even 60s looking means he's been doing some decent updates.
Mm.
So yeah, it makes a lot of this makes sense. The set designs make sense. The temple did feel cavern-y, which was what it was supposed to feel like.
And I think they even added an echo when they were in there, didn't they?
They might have.
As
and the square felt like a carved trade space, so that works well. All right.
Which is funny as well, because I can remember watching the behind the scenes stuff and them saying, at least one of the actresses is joking, it did look like some of these sets you could just lightly tap them and they'd fall over. So.
Well, it might have looked worse in person too. You never know.
Yeah, the black and white does definitely usually.
Yeah, black and white film does tend to help hide any major flaws, as long as they're not too obvious.
I think it took them a while to figure that out after they went to color.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so what didn't you like about the film? And we're starting with Tim.
Okay, starting with Tim. This might be cheap, but I found it extremely hard to follow the first and last episodes due to the telesnaps. Maybe it was because of the version I watched, or it felt it was like there weren't enough pictures to establish what was going on in each thing. It is like I had to make a lot of guesses.
I would agree with you, but that's when I tuned out of actually watching the stills that sat around too long and just listened to it. Because I think you saw the official BBC version, yes?
Yeah. I was watching whichever version Thomas gave us.
Which I believe was the BBC version.
The DVD, the DVD version 2015.
Yeah. It was like they would stay on a photograph of a scene that was already over.
Yeah.
and then the new dialogue would come in and it's like, wait, we're in a different scene. Like, where are we now? Like, they're
Yeah.
tied up.
Yeah, they
you
didn't
know,
do a
like,
very good
so-
job of updating.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, their picture quality was nice, but it really felt like they could have used a lot more images.
Yeah. It's one of those cases where, as like hit and miss as this serial can be, I do hope that it does get episodes 1 and 4 animated at some point,
Yeah,
It should.
even if they're low on the priority list.
it might be low on their priority list, but it's also an episode that only has 2 episodes missing, so
Yeah.
it's not going to be that low. It's going to be one that they can easily produce.
Even
So-
though I hate to say it, it could have used captioning at the bottom of the screen to
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as I
what
hate
is
it because,
supposed to be
yeah, it's supposed to be
happening.
more visual than this.
Yep.
Mm.
All right. Matt, what did you not like?
What did I not like? I'm going to say, oh gosh. I'm going to say that there's a few flimsy points in the plot that don't quite add up.
Such as?
The fish people were really overly easy convinced, despite them not having thought about not making the helping gather food before. For one, for two, the fact that this leader has been told time and time again that this scientist might be a bit loony, and have you checked in on him lately? Kind of also shows signs of him very blindly trusting in this scientist until he gets the fire in the eyes look from the doctor, and he's like, "Look like that? No." And then all of a sudden, a little while later, he's like, "Oh shit, yeah." Yeah, dude, you weren't trying very hard to figure out whether or not this guy was actually legit still working for you. Methinks. And the fact that even the fellow scientists never questioned his plans either, and they should have been like the people who would have instantly known, oh hey, this could cause an explosion. Whoops.
All right.
There's certain flaws that people should have seen through.
All right. Thomas?
I will admit this is mainly a point that I'm bringing up because it only occurred to me after watching the behind the scenes stuff where the actress playing Polly brought it up. But Polly's portrayal is very inconsistent with what she had previously been like. Like she's suddenly in this most of this, she's very, oh no, what are we gonna do, Doctor? Oh help. Whereas even just looking
She's
at her in the
very damsel in distress.
Yeah, she did get very
Yeah.
damselly, especially in the later half, I noticed.
Whereas even from what she's saying, I haven't seen the telesnap version or anything, so I wouldn't know. The story literally right before this, she was very gung ho and come on, Doctor, let's do this, yay. So going from that to this is a very weird juxtaposition that she was very active, and then in this she's very much the damsel when that wasn't her at all, and she's like, and the actress is just like, oh, what the fuck? This isn't Polly. What the shit? This writer clearly has no idea what her character is supposed to be like. Which might, in a way, be part of why I'm pretty sure this is like the only thing this writer ever did for Doctor Who. It probably didn't help.
It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible they dropped the ball on characterization too much, and they went, we'll call you, don't call us.
And this guy does not even rate a Wikipedia page, so
Oof.
yeah. All right.
No, I found one. Let's see. Yeah, the Underwater Menace is the only Doctor Who thing he ever did.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to see what else he had done, though.
Apparently he
I
did
got
an
him. I got
episode
him.
of the Avengers.
I apparently miswrote his name.
Mm.
Helps
Mm.
spell. Yeah, he doesn't really have anything that he did a lot of in this genre.
Yeah, from what I can tell, most from the implication I got from the behind the scenes stuff was like most of what he was used to was like comedy, like straight up comedy and stuff of that nature.
So yeah, this is probably not his cup of tea.
Yeah.
Mm.
He was
Although it did
probably
work for some parts.
it was probably he was trying to get out of his box, so he applied to write this, and then discovered
Yeah.
he couldn't and slunk back into his box.
Yeah, like one of the sort of things they say in the behind the scenes stuff jokingly, whether it was the actors Holly or not, one of them's like, it's almost as if he knew this was going to be his shot at doing Doctor Who, so he was just throwing everything at the wall to see what stuck.
Oh, actually,
Oof.
this was also the end of his career. He did
Really?
he did a feature film after this, and then he retired.
Oof.
And I think he did this while working on the feature film.
Mm. Yeah, apparently this was rewritten like several times because he'd pitched something else that was just shut down completely, and then was offered to write something that eventually became this. And this story also got knocked around a lot in the production. Like originally, this was actually going to be the second story, and they got knocked back in favor of the Highlanders, and then almost got knocked back again to the fourth story of the season, and they got bumped back up because that story was having issues.
Mhm. And yeah, it's one of those that kind of went back and forth. All right, so I have a couple of issues with this one, and I'm going to list them both because I'm at the end here.
Mm.
One of which is particularly in one scene I noticed it mostly. The soundtrack got loud enough I could not hear the actors. Now that could have just been the remix they did, but it was fairly annoying for me.
I actually can't say I've noticed that.
It was the scene where he was dressed up as the instrument salesman. The background noise got so much I couldn't hear the character. You know?
Oh, yeah, the market scene.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
There was a bit of muttering there.
Yep. And the second thing I didn't like was the outfit of the fish.
Yeah. That's why I didn't really mention them that much when I mentioned costuming.
Yeah, there was a little lack of consistency. The eyes were okay.
The eyes are okay and kind of creepy. The rest of
Yeah,
it, though.
but they were okay. I mean, for looking for what they were.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it,
Yeah.
you basically put you super glued a bunch of sequins to their cheeks and had them wear tights.
Yeah, you rhinestoned their faces and then added a whole bunch of sequins to their outfits and made them swim around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was only a few of them too, because some of them were literally just people in wetsuits with like
With the fins
Mm-hmm.
attached to the
caps
sides,
on and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but supposedly those were the newer ones, whereas the older ones were more fish-like, apparently. I don't know how that works, because they never explained that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
For me, that was just like, yeah, no, not buying it. Not really buying it. All right, so favorite scene.
Okay, so my favorite scene is when the Doctor plays Bill Nye the Science Guy for the priest to explain what would happen if the water was drained into the Earth's crust. Like, see, this pot is the Earth, and this pan is your brain on drugs. And this. Any questions?
They show you how he's going to make the world go boom, and he's proclaiming that he's going to rise you guys 10 miles in the sky.
Yeah.
I was listening to that and I was remembering the analogy about putting a firecracker. If you have explodes while your hand is open, you burn your hand. Explodes while your hand is closed, you don't have a hand. Yeah. Right. Matt, how about you? Favorite scene?
Favorite scene? Actually, I used it for the opening. The bit where they trap the mad scientist and the doctor stand flutes him right in the eyes.
All right. Thomas.
Just because like I pretty much figured when it happened it was probably going to be a favorite, and I might have had a different one in mind as well, but I'll just go with this anyway. Um, the doctor is like talking up one of the scientists, like whoever the named one was, Damon, I think, and he's just like, oh yeah, I think you're very far along scientifically. It's like, oh yeah, well, two can play at that game. Look at this. Puts that shit on the friggin' thing and just like starts smoking up everywhere, and he just runs off.
Oh yeah, when he was outsmarting the Atlantean scientist.
Yeah. Because he's
Oh
just like,
yeah, you
he's
think
not
you're
even
advanced? Well, check this out.
necessarily.
Boom.
Yeah, like he's not even necessarily high. The fact that he's gonna do anything, he's just like, oh yeah, two can play in that game. Yeah, look at this.
You think, oh, Spotty Pants, check this one out. I'm a ninja, I'm gone.
All right. So that takes to me. My favorite scene, I think, was right at the beginning of episode 2, where the doctor, in feigning looking interested in everything, manages to steal a pair of pliers or wire cutters or something,
Mm-hmm.
and starts fucking with the power thing with them not noticing. Because it is such a Patrick Stewart classic.
It's Patrick Stewart.
Troughton.
Sorry, my brain suddenly. I'm looking up stuff while I'm doing that, and I came across a quote by Patrick Stewart, so it's sidetracked. But yeah, it seems that's a Patrick Troughton classic maneuver for Second Doctor. It's just distract
Plus,
them.
plus it's something to try and make a distraction so I can learn even more and ruin their plans.
Yep. Got to rescue Polly. How did
Look, there's power wires. I got some wire cutters. We wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to complain about the power. Excellent.
All right. So least favorite scene.
Tim,
you're up.
Least favorite scene would have to be the end when Dr. Zaroff is defeated, because I don't know what happened, because I couldn't follow that.
Essentially, he was tricked out of his lab room where he had himself fenced off, and then the doctor pulled the fuse and the cage came down again.
Oh.
So he was trapped there trying to reach the plunger to
yeah.
make the explosion happen, but drowned trying to do it.
Yeah, because he was just too stubborn to leave when he had the chance.
Here's the funny thing, the clip version we have didn't have it, but I know for a fact that there is footage of him trying to get to that lever, and it's out there. There is some of that particular sequence there, but oh well.
Anyway, that was Tim's. Matt?
Actually, mine's gonna be. We mentioned the fact that the actress for Polly didn't really like where some of her stuff in this episode was going. The one that irked me was her and Jamie were heading towards the surface, and all of a sudden she just has this moment of complete and total freak out, and it's just not only is it not really convincing out of her, which I think was probably part of the problem why she didn't like it, is because she wasn't convinced. But it also came off as really kind of stilted, and it was like a moment where Jamie had to shake her out of it and keep pushing her to keep going.
Mm.
It was just kind of like,
All right. Thomas?
It's kind of funny because it's very nitpicky. Mine is the opening of episode 4, because the ending of episode 3 to me is just great because of how he says nothing in the world can stop me now. And then you get to the start of episode 4, and instead of using that same take, where it's very powerful, it's this very understated, nothing in the world can stop me now. or something like that, and it's just like,
Yeah,
oh,
the
what
original
the
take was
fuck?
like, nothing in the world could stop me now, and no, and then the next take is like, nothing in the
Hey,
world can
Freakazoid,
stop
you
me
want a mint?
now. It's like,
Yeah, just like that take of it is like, oh, who thought that was worth using? What the hell? Like
All right.
sometimes you run into that with serials like this, where like the follow-on will be a different take that they've done the run-on with, and it kind of, even though it's a different delivery, it still works. But this is one of those cases where it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about the opening to Castrovalva. Lost a bit of the epic feel that the Legopolis had.
mm,
And a lot of that is because they actually had to refilm the take for the next episode. So, anyway,
yeah.
my least favorite scene, I think, is the one where Zaroff pretty much convinces the priest to get close to him so he can, get this final blessing. And I'm like, it's like, obviously you're faking it, dude.
Yeah.
Don't do it. You're faking, and they just fall for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
that
they
was a
even
very
knew.
slap moment too.
Yeah, and they even knew that he was like, they even knew there was a chance he was fake, because like one of the first things when it happens is like either Ben or Jamie is like, oh, he's faking it, leave him alone.
Yeah.
And then and Polly wouldn't be that fucking stupid. So why the hell do they make her be like, oh no, he does actually look quite hurt. You should
Mhm.
probably do it. And it's like, come on, Polly's not that stupid.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's just like, nope. It only happens because of plot. No.
Mm,
Yeah, you're forcing dumb plot on us. Please don't. Oh, they're doing it.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, that's why it's my least favorite scene. All right, final thoughts, and I'm kind of in a hurry here because we are over time.
Yep.
Okay.
Hmm.
Final thought, this was a very entertaining episode where the middle two parts were entertaining. I loved the characters, especially the character of the mad scientist, as well as there was a refreshing take on the priest who just, when he learned that his whole religion was a sham. Jim. The last thing I'll say is that I loved Jamie's take on the TARDIS, how, like, I know what happens. I know I'll never understand it, but I know I don't have to. To appreciate it. And I think that's a very cool way to look at it. But I do hope that if they don't find the missing episodes, they come up with better telesnaps or at least animated things in the future.
Mm.
I believe this is on the animation schedule.
It's just
I
a matter of
think-
when.
I think it's like 2 or 3 down the queue right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll look forward to that.
Yep. So my turn then.
Yep.
Yeah.
This one had some interesting ideas. Sadly, some of the execution faltered, and in particular, it seems like the writer didn't quite understand the regular characters. The new characters were really well done, and the Doctor himself was pretty well done for the most part. That also being said, the costuming for the most part worked, except for the one that needed the most work, and they kind of rushed through it, it would seem. But otherwise, the majority of this is actually not badly done, and yes, the mill section is probably the best because we can actually see everything that's going on. So hopefully one day,
All right. Thomas?
sometime soon.
Yeah, I will admit this is the first attempt I've made at watching anything with any sort of amount of telesnaps. Then it's like, oh god, the animated versions of episode 1 and 4 cannot come quickly enough. Is very jarring to try and.
The secret for me is I do something else while
Sometimes,
listening.
yeah, depending on
Yeah, I
the
was
particular
trying. I
episode.
was trying to do. Yeah, I was basically trying to do stuff that wasn't taking my entire attention away from it, but just something that I could like look at while I was listening to it.
Normally, I either work on the podcast
Mm.
material or I play around to solitaire or something like that, just
Yeah.
so I'm not looking. And I occasionally, if they get to one of those scenes where you know what's going on, I start looking at the snaps. That's the only time I start looking
Yep,
at the
pause
snaps.
and turn over.
Yeah.
Other than that, I just treat it as an audio drama.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of funny because I didn't really know what to I mean, this has a reputation of being one of the bad ones, seemingly. And as I said before we started, pretty much every actor involved with this might give it the benefit of the doubt in hindsight, but we're all very much like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, apparently, like, Patrick Troughton was very vocal of the fact that he did not like it.
Despite the fact that he did a good job of it, so.
Yeah, like, I think it was like he was just caught up. Apparently, he was very upsetting, so maybe that's what got him through it. Or he generally was like, well, they're paying me, I might as well do my job, but I'm gonna do it under protest or something. And apparently he was also very ratings conscious, and it's like, oh god, this story after a few good ones, like what the fuck. But yeah, I would honestly say that wait until an animated version of episodes 1 and 4 come out and then watch this, because while it's not the best Doctor Who thing ever, like I would never count this among the great. I would count this among the okay. Like, I was expecting this to maybe be, like, hilariously bad, like, entertainingly bad, but I'd say, like, it came up enough that it was okay. Instead of having to fall into, like, so bad it's good or something like that. So yeah, I would say watch it. If you can put up with telesnaps, watch it now, and the 2 episodes that are surviving, but otherwise I'd say wait until the 2 missing episodes are animated.
All right,
And,
so
yeah.
my opinion, a slightly flawed script. A slightly flawed script with decent sets, mostly decent costumes, with one exception, and some really good acting would have probably made this at least a par episode, or slightly above par. Even I might give this a 3.5 if I had it in its entirety. But the missing 2 episodes do bring it down because it gives you some confusion as to what's going on and that. So yeah, that falls it below the par line. All right, so ratings. Let's see what we have to say, and once again, I have to mark Bill absent. How many times can I mark him absent before he gets expelled?
Well, since it's technically his show on his channel. And I will say, at least he's actually posting those up when they get done.
I'm just going to say, this season he has thus far missed 9 episodes of a 25 serial run.
Oof.
Yeah.
All right.
If he misses the last 3, he'll have missed approximately half the episodes this season. Anyway. So, Tim, you're first. What would you rate this?
Okay, the missing episodes bring it down a bit, but not below the par line for me, so I shall give this 4 stars.
Oof.
Once again, Tim being generous.
Very.
Matt.
I've been arguing with myself. I think I'll agree with a 2.5 for right now. It could rise up to a 4 with those missing episodes, but it's hard to say for right now.
Thomas.
I like, I feel like I don't know if this would change with or without. But at the very least for now, I'm going to give 3.
All right. I'm with Matt on this, and I'm going to give it a 2.5 because I have to give it a half a point deduction for each missing serial. And like I said, I would have given it about a 3.5. So instead, it gets a 2.5. And with that range, with all of us, and Tim being way overly generous, this averages out to a 3.0, a par, people.
I was right.
Mediocre.
3.0 puts this on the same category as Revelation of the Daleks, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, Travel with Time Lord, The Ultimate Foe, Deep Breath, The Beast Below, The End of Time, and The Wheel in Space. It is better than Aliens of London, World War III, Horns of Nyman, Vampires in Venice, Time of the Doctor, and is not as good as The Sea Devils, Planet of Fire, Survival, Invasion of the Dinosaurs, ironically enough, Asylum of the Daleks, Trial of a Time Lord, The Mysterious Planet, Cold War, and Rings of a Cotton. Final total comes to, by the way, this is our second 3.0 in a row. Just wanted to put that out. 265 out of 311 things reviewed. That is all we have to say about the Underwater Menace.
All right. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to check out all our VODs on YouTube at Unearthly Podcast. If you want to catch us live every Wednesday evening when we do the show, you can catch us on Twitch at Unearthly Podcast. You can also find our Twitter at Unearthly Pod. You can find our Facebook at Unearthly Podcast. And if you do so enjoy the show enough that you wish to throw us a few shillings, you can always check us out on Patreon at An Unearthly Podcast.
All right, so next week, we leave Atlantis behind and move on to the Himalayas. Bring your heavy winter coat because it's The Abominable Snowmen. Written by Mervyn Heisman and Henry Lincoln and starring Patrick Troughton as the Doctor, Fraser Hines as Jamie, and Deborah Watling as Victoria. We will see you next week.
Love you, Wookiees.